M demands I give up my airline seat because her child deserves it more. So, I'm on a 5-hour flight for a work conference. I booked a window seat because I like to lean against the wall to sleep. I board the plane, settle in, and everything seems fine. Then enters entitled Mom M and her kid EK. M staring at me, you're in our seats. Me, I don't think so, this is 23A, right? M, yes, but my son really wants to look out the window. Me, I booked this seat specifically, sorry. M, well, my son has never flown before, and he should get to experience it. You should give your seat to him. He deserves it more. Me, I understand, but I also paid for this seat. At this point, the flight attendant FA comes over to see what the commotion is about. FA, is everything all right here? M, no, he won't let my son sit by the window. FA, ma'am, the seats are assigned, and he's in his correct seat. M, this is outrageous, my child deserves this experience. FA, I can't change assigned seats, you'll have to sit in your assigned seats. M huffs and puffs but finally takes her assigned middle seat next to me, muttering about how some people are so selfish. 5 hours sitting next to M was not fun, but I held on to my window seat. My comfort was worth more than her entitlement. So, that's my experience. Can't believe people like this actually exist. You want your kid to have a window seat, then book one. Sucks that you were kinda stuck next to the M for that duration. Gotta love when the EP is put in their place in these situations. My brother is a commercial pilot. He's had to intervene in countless situations like this. You paid for the seat. It's yours. Not your fault M didn't pay attention to seat selection or was too cheap to buy seats when she booked the flights. If she'd wanted her kid to sit by a window, she could have booked a window seat. Not rocket science. Good thing you didn't get up for the toilet. Can imagine she would move the kid into your seat and refuse to move him. She could have booked a window seat. Wow, didn't even ask. Just straight to it's our seat. That's some crazy level of entitlement there. Had a not dissimilar experience myself back in June, but they didn't have a child. It was a very entitled couple trying to evict me from my paid for window seat. It went about like yours except that they started complaining about my fluffiness and I'm not that fluffy. I fit just fine in the seat. They got moved to aisle seats behind me so they gained nothing by the seat change. I ended up being able to take a nap stretched out over the seats. This seat entitlement seems to be a general theme lately with flying. Lots of posts about it here. If a plane is small and a trip is short notice, I can understand that sometimes seats together might not be available. I was recently on a flight. I made sure to book my seat on the side of the plane with only one seat, and witnesses a parent asking someone to switch with his wife so they could sit together with their infant. The woman agreed. I imagine it wasn't just that they politely asked. The passenger was able to still sit in a window seat, but one row forward. Plus, she then didn't have to worry about the baby interrupting her flight. It's understood that asking someone to change seats should involve an equal or better seat. Next time you meet one, ask her how much she paid for her seat. Then tell her some outrageous number for yours. Tell her if she can match it, she can have it, and it has to be here and now. She can't get off the plane and no checks will be allowed, and when she's done screeching how it's for her angel who's been asleep for the past 20 minutes. Tell her nicely, oh, I see you don't have the money. I'm sorry, but the seat stays with me. And smile as you tell her, looking her dead in the eyes. I've several times asked entitled people who want the window or aisle, as the case may be, seat what it is worth to them. Pay me $50 or $100 on a relatively short flight and I'll gladly switch. I did have one person take me up on it. We both ended up with what we wanted and all was well. Usually it ends up just spinning them up into further irritation and thus amusement for me. Rolling on the floor laughing. I always book a window seat for same reason. I once had a mother and child in my row. Child around 4-ish. Wanted him to sit in window seat, while she insisted on aisle seat because she's more comfortable there. She insisted I take the middle seat. It shouldn't be a problem. Really now? I politely declined her offer to sit between them. The mother proceeded to tell her child how selfish I was and I'm a bad person, etc., etc. Yeah, entitled mom will lead to entitled child. If something like this happens again, just to say yes, of course your child deserves it. And you deserve to pay for it just like I did. Believe it or not, if you travel for work often you get this happen all the time. I fly almost weekly for work. And the number of times people request to change seats with others to sit together with their child or spouse blows my mind. You have so many opportunities to pick seats together. You just have to pay extra for the convenience of it or have status with the airline. I have a theory that these people wait until the last minute to book flights because it's cheaper. Expecting to be able to con someone into doing their bidding and giving them what they want. They assume they are so charming and or intimidating, or that their circumstances make them extra special, that they cast themselves as the main character in life. In reply to the selfish comment, yeah, you wouldn't believe some entitled woman just demanded my seat. How selfish is that? What is this seat worth to you? Because I won't give it up for less than $. Choose whatever amount you'd change seats for. And don't negotiate. Cash only. Few people will pay, but they will likely be angrily silent at you the rest of the flight. Win-win. I know I'm old because I buy aisle seats so I can use the restroom without issue. When I fly with my kid, though, I suck it up, buy her a window seat and sit in the middle. People like that are ridiculous. Similar to families of 4 and above, who don't book seats together, but expect everyone else to cater. Yep, they're out there, as you experienced. Glad you told her to pound sand up. I would have gotten up to use the bathroom at least 5 times in 5 hours just to piss her off more. I recently went on a hen party to Marbella from the UK, not an overly long flight, but my eldest daughter really doesn't like flying and starts retching before she get into the terminal building. I paid extra so the 3 of us could sit together. Youngest is 22 and doesn't have an issue with flying. Eldest sat in the middle, gripped my hand during takeoff and had tears running down her face. The guy opposite clocked her and shared a smile and a bless look with me. I booked those seats for a reason. No way would I give them up for an EM. My son loves to look out the window on airplanes. So I book and pay for a window seat. We pre-book and pay for designated seats for every flight. This blows my mind that people would even think to do this. Me and my kids flew to Florida a few years ago. It was a 2.5-hour flight. I didn't get early bird check-in, so we didn't all sit in the same row. But my kids 10-12 were in the seat in front of me. So the years following I just paid for early bird check-in. I would never think to ask anyone to switch seats with me. Her son deserves more. Looks like she should have paid more. This is outrageous. My child deserves this experience. If I'd read this 10 to 20 years ago, I'd have said OP made this story up because I can't fathom that there are people in this world that would actually say this. But I've seen enough of this behavior in the real world over the last few years to know that this crap actually happens. Sad. To the next entitled person, pay for a confirmed assignment of seat instead of skipping out and getting assigned on random. If they deserve more, then pay out more. Nobody will hand it out for free, especially when they themselves paid for it. I would have offered her a chance to buy the seat. $5,000. Good on you. If they wanted the window, they should have paid for it and reserved it. You aren't selfish. You paid for it. Their lack of foresight doesn't an emergency make. If she wanted her kid to have a window seat, she should have booked her kid a window seat. It's not that difficult. She just didn't want to spend an extra $35. Thought she could guilt or bully someone into switching. Add to that the recent story where some nice person did change seats. The person in the seat got snacks which were charged to the account of the guy who selflessly changed. So no good deed. On Facebook, they always post stories like this. Out of 100 comments, there are always 10 people who post things like, "It costs nothing to be kind. What a nasty bee karma is going to get him her," referring to the person who won't give up their seat. "Give me your seat or I'll make your flight miserable." I get that her kid wants to look out the window like any normal kid, but she should have booked a window seat then. Knowing she has a child, my mom always tried to get me a window seat. The person who paid for the seat is the one who deserves it. If mom wanted her kid to experience a window seat, she should have paid for one. I hope you close the window for the entire duration of the flight after takeoff. As I am waiting for my flight to Jose's 20 minutes late, I'll be damned if I give up my nap seat. It's the audacity. I bet if she had approached and asked nicer, you would have at least considered it. If it was her son's first time flying, then she should have booked the seat to ensure him getting the window. If it was so damned important for her kid to have a window seat, then she should have booked one. I always get a window seat because that is where I like to sit. And I am not giving it up to anyone. I get motion sickness easily. I always pay extra for the window seat because being able to see distances helps. IDK. But it helps. My GF gets the middle seat next to me because she doesn't care. She just wants to be beside me. So, with the two of us, we never really get asked. I overhear others get asked a few times, though. My son deserves a window seat. Lady. He also deserves a mom who's smart enough to book him one, so I guess he missed out twice today. Our stolen seats would like this. Best response would have been, "What your son deserves is a mom who isn't so cheap and could have paid for the window seat rather than demanding it like a crazy entitled bee. Good job, lady. Your son is one step closer to being a psychopath." People are so odd when comes to this stuff. Earlier this summer, got on a flight back from Paris to NY. And someone was sitting in my window seat. The person did not book a seat next to her husband. She asked to switch with me. And I asked where she was sitting. It was the middle seat, so very nicely declined, but she refused to move and then started to curse me in 2 languages. The flight attendant told her the flight was completely sold in all areas. And unless I agreed to switch, she would have to move. This happened to me. I booked the aisle seat so I could get out easily on a 10-hour flight. The guy with a middle seat took my seat, demanded it, and said he had cholera and would get out a lot. What should I do? Let him keep my seat or have him push past me frequently? The guy flatly refused to move and I demanded my seat, so eventually upgraded to business class. I had a similar situation, but her kid was already in my seat with dozens of toys piled up. It was ridiculous. I didn't make a fuss. I just simply sat on the aisle, popped some sleeping pills, and proceeded to pass out while laying my head on the tray the entire flight. To my knowledge, neither she nor her son could get out of their seats until we landed. Recently was on an airplane for a long flight but didn't choose my seat. I was nervous about a middle seat, but it turned out I had the row to myself. I was traveling with a friend and asked the flight attendant if they could sit on the row with me. She initially said yes, but came back asking me to move so she could sit a family together. As she is telling me this, the mom literally yells from 4 rows back that they don't want to move. I dug in. The flight attendant got upset I wouldn't move and punished me by making me sit by myself. I promptly stretched out and slept for 3 hours. I would have farted during the entire flight. It's parents like this that make their kids think this is acceptable normal behavior and grow up to be just like their parents. I would have sold her the seat for the price of the ticket. Cash. If you had gotten up to use the restroom 100 sure she'd have plopped her son in your seat while you were gone. If she would have been nice and actually asked so her son could have the experience for a little while, then fine. She was another entitled bitch, so fuck her. Well, maybe the idiot should have booked a window seat, but assigned seats cost extra. You handled it far better than I would have. I tend to go into hyper-sarcasm mode when confronted with blind stupidity. I really hope you kept the window shade closed too. I'm flying next month. I so want to meet one of these entitled people. I can be a bit mean. And I'm hoping I can make them cry. Crossed fingers. Light skin tone. How much do you love him? I'll sell this seat for $1,000. Is your kid worth that? Some people are so selfish. Yes. Yes, indeed you are. Not saying you would have. But maybe if the M would have started friendly you would have thought about it. Just imagine the audacity. You're in our seats, while asking for a favor. GTFOH. I don't understand these people. If your little crotch goblin wanted a window, you should have booked it. I would have put the shade down and my earbuds in and closed my eyes. One of my favorite things about people like the entitled mom is they start from the premise of, this is definitely my seat, and then argue their point from there. I've seen people who respond to it immediately, even in the face of the truth of what it says on their boarding pass. And it often mystifies me. She's technically right. Some people are so selfish. She just didn't realize she was talking about herself. A lack of planning on your part does not constitute an emergency on my part. End of discussion. So why did she not book a window seat for her son if he deserved the experience? He deserves it more. No. He deserves a mother who would have paid more for a window seat for him instead of a cheapskate. Where's that clip of someone refusing to give their window seat on a plane? And then proceeding to explain it's a good lesson for the kid. So the kids learns that they don't always get what they want in life. I'm with you. But the funny part is if she had approached nicely and was polite I most likely would have let the kid have it and taken the aisle at least for takeoff. This aggressive me first pushiness seems to be everywhere these days. That shit makes me turn to stone instantly. Most of the time I am a big softie. I'd have shut the window shades the second she said this and they would have stayed shut after that. You need to learn how to feed on the misery of assholes and that 5 hours would have been a delight. I'd be happy to sell my seat to your kid for $200. No way. I'm sorry that you love $200 more than your kid. Total BS. If she wanted her son to have the experience then she should have paid for a window seat. Experience. I would keep the window shade closed the entire time. This is why I pay more for window seats and specifically book them. I have a bad neck and need to lean against something when I fly. This mom should have thought ahead. Not your fault. Poor effort. I hope you gave her a tough battle for the armrest as well. Oh, so many people like this exist and then they go on to procreate and then the world just gets More and more of them face with raised eyebrow. On Facebook, they always post stories like this. Out of 100 comments, there are always 10 people who post things like, "It costs nothing to be kind. What a nasty bee karma is going to get him her," referring to the person who won't give up their seat. "Give me your seat or I'll make your flight miserable." I always try to get a window seat for the same reason you do. Years ago, a woman in the middle seat next to me asked if I would switch with her husband so they could sit together. I figured if he also had a wind, then sure. I asked where he was sitting, and he was also in a middle seat. Before I finished deciding, she turned to the woman in the aisle and said, "Some people have no manners these days," before I put my headphones back on. I also noticed she never asked the woman on the aisle to switch. If she would have been nice and actually asked so her son could have the experience for a little while, then fine. She was another entitled bitch, so fuck her. Earplugs, sleep mask. If she continues, tell FA she's harassing you. Hope you took the armrest too. I've never flown. Window seats being more expensive is news to me. But still, I can't imagine asking anyone to switch. Sometimes window seats cost more than middle seats. Either way, she should have planned ahead and made sure to get a window seat if it was so important. Naturally, it wasn't as important as she said it was, or she would have planned ahead. Shame you didn't have gas. People are rude. Can't believe people like this actually exist. Welcome to the 21st century. God help us. I would have offered the seat for $500. If she balks, $600. 5 hours sitting next to M was not fun. But I held on to my window seat. I would have spent 5 hours marveling aloud over the view. My God. Look at that view. I bet only angels and astronauts get a view like that. Truly a once-in-a-lifetime experience, you know. It's times like this, viewing this pale blue marble from such a majestic height, that one realizes that God's creation is truly exquisite. Don't you agree, ma'am? I usually tell people, if this plane crashes, I don't want the recovery people to think I'm you. I'll stick with my seat that I chose, that is registered to my name. Thanks. I'd have had a little more sympathy if she hadn't come right out the gate pretending like that was her seat. People are gross. I'd ask, how much do you think this experience is worth for your child? Surely, you're a great mother, and you want your child to experience the best. I'm sure you can afford to fork out $500 to give him the best experience ever. I usually try to get the window seat for that same reason. If that was me, after everyone was settled in, I would have put on my headphones, leaned against the window, then closed the shade. I'm petty, so I'd have quipped, I completely agree to her selfish comment. That would have been a great flight to have some nasty farts or snore tears of joy, except for the others around you. Yuck, and the fact she didn't even ask nicely, she just was rude, makes it extra yuck. What a cow. Next time she needs to pick her seats better, huh? I wonder if she would have stolen your seat when you went to the toilet. Did you manage to hold on for 5-ish hours? Kudos to you if you did. I'd just put my earphones in and eye mask on, wouldn't even bother talking to her. These people are horrible. My response would be, okay. How much are you offering? What do you mean you won't pay? How can you be so cruel to your poor son? He deserves so much better. Sorry, buddy, but your mom won't buy the window seat for you. I don't get people like this, who just throw the responsibility for their own children on others. She should have booked him the window seat if she wanted him to sit there. But she didn't, so that's 100 on her. I would have responded fuck off at her second comment. Sure, Just reimburse me my $600 upgrade fee that I paid for a window seat. You can Venmo it to me. My son really wants to look out the window. Me, well, people in hell really want ice water and AC. Guess who will get what they want first? This is why I never leave the house without AirPods. They can block that right out. Some people are so selfish. Yes, ma'am, you are. Some people are so selfish. Yes, but we let you on the plane anyway. I've read this story several times before. Want to serve a woman, you say? It could have been worse. An obese woman once asked me if it would be okay to raise the armrest. I was in middle seat. I said sure. In the next 15 minutes her fat invaded my seat and made for a very uncomfortable ride. Never again. Oh, it's this guy again. The one who makes up stories especially for this sub and everyone loves it. Yawn. I personally would have given the kid the seat if the mother would have been very polite and appreciative. She was neither, so I am glad OP stuck to his guns. AI has a long way to go if this story is the best effort available. 5 hours is nothing. I would have swapped to the aisle seat if she asked in a polite, respectful way, you know, the way normal humans act. But if she really acted like this and OP isn't embellishing, then I would have told her tough luck. Op is a dick. You should have elbowed her face like 3 or 4 times when she sat next to you. I hope you didn't use the washroom. Wouldn't put it past her to try and move him if you did. So generic, but I guess karma farmers got a farm. I hope you took full advantage and got up every hour to use the restroom too. This seems so made up. Yay. Glad you stuck up for yourself. Yeah, fuck that bitch. That is a fair thought for correctly returning your remains. Also, next time ask the how much your little brat paid for your seat. I did it on a train once and the resulting meltdown was epic. Oh, they absolutely do. I would have looked at her and asked her why she didn't book the ticket earlier or take a different flight if it mattered that much. I'd ask, how much do you think this experience is worth for your child? Surely, you're a great mother, and you want your child to experience the best. I'm sure you can afford to fork out $500 to give him the best experience ever. If she thought he deserved it so much, why didn't she pay for a window seat? If it was so important for her child to have a great first experience flying, why didn't she book the seats ahead of time to do that? Just like you did, man, facepalming. If EK deserved the experience, then maybe M should have booked a window seat. I hope you never had to get up to use the restroom or anything, because she would have put her kid in that seat and refused to move him and argue you gave up your seat. Good thing you didn't need to use the lavatory. This is outrageous. I read this as Bluey's voice. I imagine Bluey doing her old lady voice imitation. People who ask you to do something and get upset when you decline were not asking. They were telling. They cannot fathom not getting their way. Those people infuriate me. My son. My son. My son. My child. Shut up. Smug woman with child. Wow. What an experience. It's crazy how some people can be so entitled. Your comfort and the fact that you specifically booked the window seat should definitely be a priority. It's unfortunate that the entitled mom couldn't understand that. I just really look at them saying nothing while yawning and looking bored. Having no reaction. OS so much fun. The proper response is, well, perhaps such an experience is worth, say, $500 hour? I will happily trade if you can pay me in cash right now. Fuck off goes a long way. I'd have responded to her comments as if she were talking to me. Oh my god. I know. Imagine that, the sheer audacity of some people. Thinking that their spawn deserve XYZ just because ABC. You really have to ask yourself, where did they learn to be this way? It's amazing no one has called them out on it before. Absolutely shameless. Get involved in their one-sided conversation. Lol. You have every right to sit in the seat you paid for. But I think it's an move to close the window on a daytime flight. I have to book an aisle seat because I have IBS and you don't want me booking the window seat. Lol, I would have agreed with her and said, yes, you are. My favorite thing to say to entitled people is no. Thank you. It's entertaining how a completely polite sentence will trigger the right people. Lol. If she was a real bitch I woulda negotiated and asked for cash money or STFU. $200 or some painfully awkward number usually shuts them up. I do agree that first-time flyers should sit by the window. And that's why we have options to choose our seats. Her son is not getting that opportunity, is on her. Not you. You should have bought that entitled little shit a $59 seat assignment. Now get to the back of the plane. Bitch. On flight to Vegas, had some dad say I was in his wife's seat and we were in his row. I had to look at my ticket, but just to say that knowing you're lying is preposterous. I had a window seat and my husband was in the aisle, but the dad was in the next row with their kid. I guess he wanted them to sit together. I just glared at him a few seconds and turned my head to look out the window after I made sure I was in my right. Really rude and crazy to think someone's going to give you their seat without you asking. To get mad when they say no they won't. Entitlement these days is insane. Pensive face. After all that, she took the middle seat and forced the kid to sit even farther from the window. If you let the entitlement win, this world turns into an even bigger hell in the blink of an eye. So thank you. Some people are entirely too punchable to be put in a sealed aluminum tube that takes a while to land once it's up in the air. I always plan in advance, like everyone is able to do when you purchase an airline ticket. You are, drumroll, able to choose your seats. People are becoming more boisterous with their entitlement attitudes. Sure, the seat option you want may be already chosen by another customer. But I would never ask someone to switch seats with me. Never.